Welcome to the 5% Club podcast, the space where ambitious leaders go to master their careers and their lives. I'm Shayla King, a former C-suite executive turned performance and happiness coach. And this is the podcast for leaders who want it all. The promotions, the paychecks, and luxurious amounts of time for what matters most. Each week, I'll teach you how to work less, make more, and design a life you love. Let's go.
If you're constantly tired, you feel scattered, or you're wondering how long can I keep this pace up? I feel like I'm stretched so thin. This is the episode for you. Welcome back to the 5% Club podcast. I'm Shayla King, your favorite energy, performance, and happiness coach. In today's episode, we're talking about mastering rituals, the third pillar of the performance and happiness formula. Because here's the truth. You don't just need better time management. You need better energy management. I used to think my schedule was the problem. So I created color-coded calendars, productivity hacks, bought all the courses, tried all the tools, and had fancy morning routines. And I was still exhausted. My inbox was still full, and I never got caught up. What finally changed was learning how to build intentional rituals that actually fueled the life and leadership I wanted, not just the one I was surviving through. Today, I'm going to break down the 3 ritual types that fuel high performance and happiness. And I'll give you access to a tool I usually reserve only for my private clients, the Evolve Performance and Happiness Assessment. Let's go. All right, so here are the 3 rituals that make you a high performance, high happiness executive. You can't outperform your rituals. They're either fueling your success or quietly sabotaging it. The first area you must master is physical energy. It's the foundation of everything. Most people think I'll rest when I have time, but my 5% executives know if I don't protect my physical energy, nothing else works. If your body's run down, your brain can't perform. And yet so many high achievers treat sleep, nutrition, and movement like luxuries, not requirements. And y'all, I was exactly that way. I have had autoimmune diseases for over 15 years, and I did not have the healthy habits that I needed to help manage them. I had times where I would walk up the stairs into the office, and it felt like each leg was 200 pounds. And I felt like I was living in a 105-year-old's body. The inflammation was so painful. And yet, I wasn't doing everything that I could to manage my health. I was still obsessed with learning academic things, with learning leadership and business and hacks around that, thinking it would somehow be enough. I didn't understand how correlated it was. I'll give you an embarrassing example. So I remember going to a Tony Robbins conference, and this is like a decade ago. And I was crazy sick at the time. I ended up being on really high dose prednisone. I gained like 30 pounds. My face was so round. I was in so much pain. And it was like having the worst case of mono, but it never going away. Right. And so I go to this conference because I want to be the best at what I do. I want to learn more and learn these hacks and come back to my company with an even better, higher skill set that would allow me to shine and get promoted and get more done and add more value and all the things, right? I had a lot of what's positive and wanting to learn and grow, but what's negative and needing to prove myself so much. I thought it was only the mental side of it that mattered. I remember that on the 3rd day of the conference, they spent the entire day on physical energy. And I said, this is the embarrassing part. I said, why in the hell are we spending an entire day on your body and your physical energy? I'm trying to get better over here. I'm trying to learn and improve my performance. Why are they wasting my time talking about health? Literally thought that. And there's this example that I was totally bought into that I thought my physical body, its only job was to carry my brain from one meeting room to another meeting room. I did not understand how intertwined it is. Now I do. And when I coach my clients on physical energy, I help you with things that I learned for myself that were complete game changers. Since that time, I have learned how important health is. And on top of just putting together rituals that help me as a healthy adult, I've also learned the rituals that help me as someone who has a lot of autoimmune diseases. And so I've lost a ton of weight. I have gotten into a very consistent gym routine. I eat really healthy, and the amount of energy that I have is night and day from what it used to be. I have great sleep habits. I am great with how much water I'm drinking a day, right? And it has transformed my entire life because I now have the energy to show up the way that I want. Do you remember a couple of episodes ago, I asked you how you're feeling from a 1 to a 10? And if you're like a 5 or a 6, you're going to show up differently. People aren't excited to be around a 5 or a 6. They're excited to be around 9s or 10s. 9s or 10s are showing up above the line. They're giving their energy to others. They're coming up with great ideas. They're not falling below the line, which is a coaching term, where we're more easily frustrated. I just don't give a shit. Whatever. Just do it. I'm too tired of arguing. You know, that kind of energy because you're just over it. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Whatever. Or you snap at a coworker, or you give up on things, or you're just not your creative best self. When you feel like shit, you act like shit, right? And others don't want to be around that. And that's not going to be the leader that gets promoted. That's not going to be the person who gets selected for a high quality relationship, right? You need physical energy for yourself so you can enjoy your life and you can feel better. And you need physical energy to perform at your highest. In High Performance Habits, Brendan Burchard talked about how the top performing CEOs have the same energy level as professional athletes. I want you to hear that. Top CEOs have the same energy as professional athletes. They take their body that seriously. They take their health that seriously because they know that you need that level of energy and stamina to be great at your job, right? You need that level of energy and stamina in order to be able to perform at your highest, to be resilient when emotional things come up, and to be able to follow a demanding schedule without burnout. So, physical energy is at the core of all of your success. The other thing I talk to clients about, I do a lot of weightlifting now, and it feels so good. I do it 4 or 5 times a week, and I love lifting heavy things, right? Part of the transformation when you combine your body with your personal success is that if you want to feel powerful, do powerful things with your body, right? When you know that you are stronger and fitter than most people, it gives you an edge and a confidence. I was talking with a friend the other day, and she said, you know what? I could be having a really bad day, and I go to the gym and I do 8 pull ups, and I see people looking at me, and I'm like, yep, you can't tell me nothing, right? Because it's just a way of getting into your confidence and feeling powerful. And that is good for you. But I want you to feel powerful. I want you to do powerful things in this world. And it all starts with your physical body. So if you've been neglecting it, the time is over for that. It is time for you to learn what rituals specifically work for you, what you need for your body. And it's really sad when so many of us wait so long to figure out what allows us to perform at our best. There's some amazing analogies, and I'll do a whole nother podcast on it sometime, but just the idea of if we have a plant that we need to grow, one of my clients is giving a perfect example about seedlings, which I'll go into more later. But if we have a plant that isn't growing, we figure out exactly what it needs. There's like a cool app that you can grab now, and you can take a picture of it and it can tell you, oh, it needs more light, it needs less water, it needs eggshells, or it needs coffee grounds or whatever. So if it doesn't look like it's flourishing, we figure out exactly what it needs so it can. We don't do that with our own selves, with our own body. In the one beautiful life we have, we don't slow down enough to say, what do I need so that I can flourish, so I can feel my best? And that's what I do with my clients. And that's why it's a 5%, because 95% of people are feeling physically like shit and allowing it. 95% of people have never slowed down enough to be able to say, this is what my body needs, and I'm going to build an intentional rituals to get it. Right? So that's what I take my clients through, and we figure out what are required ones that you need all of the time, and then what are resource rituals that when you're in a high or low value cycle, you can tap into, right? If you move into a low value cycle, here's some things you like to do. You don't need it daily, but then you can tap into it and find the things that actually replenish you. Sound good? Okay. So when I coach leaders on physical energy, I help you identify which routines are draining you versus refueling you. I help you build rituals around high quality sleep, movement, nutrition, and recovery. We stop overcomplicating wellness and start doing what works for you. Consistency and simplicity are the keys. We're not going to add in some 4-hour morning routine. You don't have to do every single new trick or tip or longevity hack that's out there. But right now, if you changed 1 or 2 things, you could see a huge benefit in your physical energy. And so we're going to figure out what those bottlenecks are, what's personalized to you, and make those changes. Because if you're constantly running on fumes, no mindset tool or strategy is going to stick. All right, so I want you to assess yourself. Here's the language that I use to assess my clients. And it's from 1 to 10. 1 is I have no energy. It's hard to get out of bed. 10 is I could run a marathon right now. Okay. I optimize my sleep, nutrition, movement, and recovery to sustain high energy and performance. So go ahead and rate yourself on that between 1 and 10. I'll give you a quick client story. One client told me, I feel like I'm either working or recovering from working. And so we just added 3 simple rituals: some quiet time before meetings, an actual lunch break, and a nighttime wind down. Within weeks, she was sharper, calmer, and finally felt like herself again. I didn't realize how much I was surviving until I remembered what thriving felt like. So none of this has to be big, giant changes, but they can make a big difference in your life. And we'll figure out, customize what you need. Okay? All right. So for rituals, the first one was physical energy that we just covered. And our next one is emotional energy. And it's the skill that changes everything. So most people think I'll deal with stress when things calm down, but my 5% executives know things aren't going to calm down. Life's going to keep lifing. I need to learn how to lead through the chaos. Emotional energy is about how you manage your thoughts, stress, and emotional state under pressure. Most people have never learned this skill set. This is a game changer. It is about how to control your mind so that you can have a different experience than other people. And it has absolutely transformed my life. Most things that really stress out other people are barely on my radar. And it could be anything from I got into a car accident. Here's kind of a funny story. So I was driving down the highway and a car slammed on their brakes. I stopped in time to not hit them, but the car behind me rammed into me on the highway, right? So we pull over to the side, the cops come, and I get out of the car and I start walking over, and it was like a teenage girl and her mom had arrived on the scene. And I start walking over there. And my intent was I really wanted her mom to know that she wasn't like a distracted driver. If she was looking at her cell phone, she would have killed me. We were driving very fast and the car in front of me just slammed on their brakes. And I was lucky that I could catch it. But the fact that she hit me at a slower speed meant she did try to stop right away, right? So I just didn't want the mom thinking that her daughter was completely irresponsible or anything. So I start walking over there, and this policeman comes out and starts screaming bloody murder at me to stop. You know why? Most people don't have emotional regulation. Most people in the situation that got hit would have been going over there to be angry and to be pissed at the driver and to confront them. It wasn't my intent at all, but his experience was if the person who got hit is walking towards the person who did the hitting, I have to separate them because people be crazy and they're going to be angry and they don't have emotional regulation. I had to then explain to him my purpose and he let me talk to them. I got a lovely thank you letter in the future about, how much they appreciated that during a stressful situation that I was kind. That is part of the emotional energy. I'm also not going to get into a car accident and then make it a big damn deal. Car accidents happen. It's why we have insurance. Yeah, it's annoying. We're going to have to go through the paperwork or whatever. But let me get back to the things in my life that matter to me. I'm not going to keep telling everybody the story and going on and on about it. And I'm not going to be saying, it's just not fair. And I wasn't expecting this bill this month. And da-da-da. And I got to go here. And I got to do this. Because it's just repeating negative energy to yourself, right? So yeah, that happened. Let me look. Okay, it looks like Thursday I can take my car in. Done. That is how emotional regulation shows up in real life during hard times. This level of emotional energy that you can learn and master will change how you experience your whole life. Life will keep lifing. You do not have to, it does not change your life into having it be easy. It changes how you react to what does happen to you. And that is how I was able to get through my near-death experience without me having to have the reaction everyone expected out of me, right? So I'll tell you more of the details later, but a freak medical accident happened. A nurse made a mistake and it nearly cost me my life. And when I say nearly cost me my life, I'm talking about no surgeon, no specialist thought I would make it. I was on life support, right? In a coma, heart failure, stroke, seizures, all of it at 39. And everyone expected afterwards, oh, you must be so pissed at that nurse. I bet you sued the place. Did you get your money? Did you sue? Did you do? Listen, I have emotional regulation. It's a skill set that I learned from coaching and coaching only. I never learned emotional regulation in school. I didn't learn it from my parents. I didn't learn it from my bosses. I only learned it in coaching. And because of my emotional regulation, I learned the most powerful thing I've ever learned in my life. I do not have to think about things that do not make me happy. Let me repeat it. It's so worth it. I do not have to think about things that do not make me happy. This changes everything. And so I didn't have to think about the fact that the nurse wasn't trained on this particular machine. I did not have to think about the fact that the nurse said she was distracted because I was fun to talk to. I did not have to think about the fact that the facility didn't call my husband, my emergency contact, to tell them that the only way my family found out is because my brother happened to call my cell phone when I was in the emergency room. I didn't have to think about the fact that my daughters, I wasn't even married at the time, I was engaged, and that they had the fear of not knowing what was going to happen to them. And I was supposed to pick them up from school that day and take them to Chicago for a family vacation, and I don't show up. I don't have to think about the fact that the owner of the company admitted fault, said, send me your bills, and then said, screw you, I don't care. I didn't have to think about the fact that the nurse never returned any messages when I was trying to understand what happened to me and heal. And the doctor said if we could know more about what the mistake was, that we could help more. I didn't have to think about the fact that I was getting 6-figure medical bills coming in, that my company that I had worked for had just filed bankruptcy. And so the moment that this incident happened, I didn't have insurance. Wasn't married yet. Didn't have insurance. And I didn't have to think about the fact that I was so badly injured that the first hospital said she'll die if she stays here. We're going to put her in a helicopter and medevac her to Houston because they have a hyperbaric chamber that we can see if it'll help. I didn't have to think about how much that bill was going to cost. I didn't have to think about the fact that, I guess I didn't have to think about the fact that their hyperbaric chamber had a malfunction and didn't work for me. They put me in it. They popped my ears, which this is kind of annoying, but they popped my ears to be able to put me in it to try to save my life. And then I went in it and their machine broke. And I had permanent hearing loss from that. I didn't have to think about the fact that when they intubated me, they knocked my teeth loose and they're still not straight now because they knocked them completely out of place. I don't have to think about the fact that when they intubated me, they also damaged my vocal cords. And I can no longer project my voice in the way that I used to and that I facilitate for a living. I don't have to think about anymore what should or shouldn't happen with the company and the owner and the nurse. I chose not to let that shit go on replay in my brain. Because can you imagine how I would feel if I just let that play over and over and over again? Imagine that. So instead, do you know what I put on replay in my brain? So we get to choose our thoughts. Most humans don't know this. This is why it's called the 5% Club. 95% of people let their thoughts run on autoplay. They just let their thoughts happen to them. We have 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. 90% of them are exactly the same as yesterday, right? So I teach you how to manage your thoughts. So instead, I said, so glad I'm alive. To learn how to walk and talk again, I said, I'm so glad I was able to walk to the bathroom by myself today. So proud I made it all the way to the kitchen island today. I'm so proud I was awake more hours. I'm so happy I didn't die in my sleep last night. We had to worry that I was going to have another stroke. And I would be so grateful when I woke up in the morning that I didn't die the night before. And I'm so glad my children got to come home to their mom. I'm so glad they never had to go through me actually passing away. And I'm so happy that I have a husband that supports me and children that helped take care of me during my recovery and that were patient with me because I had memory loss. When I woke up in the hospital, I couldn't remember my husband's name. I had to learn to walk again. I had to learn to talk again. I had to learn how to swallow again. And every day I was like, I am so lucky to be alive. So blessed that God let me stay on this earth. I am so blessed that I had so many family members and friends praying for me and wanting me to return. So blessed. That is what I played over and over and over in my head. I'm so grateful that I get to continue my work of helping empower others. You know, everyone says after a near-death experience, did it change what you want to do with your life? Did it change everything? I had just started my business. I had just started coaching other leaders. And all it did for me is double down that helping people become bigger, bolder, happier versions of themselves is exactly what I was put on this earth to do. And so that is what I focused on. All right. So emotional energy is about how you manage your thoughts, your stress, and your emotional state under pressure. And no, it doesn't mean being positive all the time. It means knowing how to feel steady and clear, even when life is lifing. So when I coach on emotional energy, I help you build rituals for emotional regulation and recovery. And this is like when stressful stuff happens at work, we go through an exercise called Silly Little People Do Silly Little Things. I teach you not to let other people take your joy, not to let other people's emotions and behavior change your mood. And you learn how to actually do that. And so it keeps you in this strong, peaceful place. It's a place of power. I still teach you how to hold your boundaries and be able to be strong, but you aren't reactive to others. Okay. We develop tools to manage thoughts and stress productively, and we create spaces to reset before stress becomes self-sabotage. So go ahead and assess yourself 1 through 10. 1 is low, 10 is high. I manage my thoughts, my emotions, and my stress in a way that supports confidence, resilience, and a sense of control. So I had a client who would kind of shut down whenever things got chaotic. And a lot of my clients do that. It feels like things got super stressful. People got crazy, inappropriate at work and just weren't behaving in a professional manner. And so I have a choice. I either tell them off and say my mind because I'm sick of being stepped on, or I just shut down and it's not worth it. I'm not even going to go there. And I teach them that's all or nothing thinking. And there's a middle ground, a way of deciding when is the right time, how is the right time, and then saying what needs to be said, not everything you're feeling, and how to just observe as a bystander. Silly little people do silly little things. There's a little circus happening over there, but I don't have to let it actually bother me. I'll address what needs to be addressed, but otherwise, I can just let that happen over there, right? And so with this client, we just helped her find that middle ground so that she could stay in her power and not be stepped on, because you do not have to be a doormat, right? But not react in with emotion in the moment. And so that allowed her to start showing up as a much more professional person with that executive presence, but she felt so much calmer and more in control. And that's what we want. All right. So that is everything for your emotional energy. And there's so many days that go by where we're like, I am exhausted. And you're not physically exhausted, you're emotionally exhausted. And I can have you be in the exact same situation, exact same circumstance, same role, same company, same everything, and feel completely different about it. I can teach you that. All right. It's changed my life, and I love helping people change their lives with it. And finally, cultivating joy, because you're allowed to love your life. So most people think I'll have fun when I've earned it or later. I'll trade joy now for later. And what my 5% executives know is joy isn't a reward, it's a requirement for sustainability. So if everything in your life is built around productivity or recovery, you're missing the best part. Joy isn't fluff, it's the fuel. When I coach on cultivating joy, I help you rediscover what lights you up outside of work, build rituals around joy, creativity, and connection, normalize play, adventure, and fun, all as part of your leadership strategy. So go ahead and assess yourself on how good you are at cultivating joy. I had a client the other day when I was going through this assessment with her say, Shayla, I'm going to be honest. That sentence doesn't resonate with me at all. The idea of joy, cultivating joy. I haven't thought about that over a decade, right? We have to end that, because you're going to love your whole damn life when you work with me, right? You're going to love your whole damn life and get what you want out of life. Okay. You're going to be the high performer and love your whole damn life. All right. So rate yourself 1 through 10. I intentionally create space for fun, playfulness, and experiences that bring excitement and happiness into my life. So go ahead and rate yourself. I had so many of my clients that just say, I'm so tired. I don't even know what I like anymore. And we do spend some time saying, what do you like? And let's, experiment and try and find some things that make you excited and feel like you're alive again, right? And so I have some clients that, started an adult dance group again that they had done when they were younger and absolutely loved it and did a dance performance at Christmas time. Like, cool and fun as that. I had another client who loved wine, used to have her dream job in the wine industry, but had switched to a different industry and really missed that. And so she started working 1 day a week part-time at a winery, not because she needed the money, but because she loved being able to educate people on wine. So she was a sommelier and did this like half a day at a local winery and met the coolest people, made some really good friends there, and just added fulfillment and joy back into her life. I have another client who just started taking a heck of a lot more vacations. And when she went on them, she closed her laptop. So she came up with these fun little adventures that she was able to do to cultivate joy into her life and no longer worried about work while she was there. Right. And so there can be little things throughout your day that you do, or there can be big things. And either way, you find the joy. For me, silly, but I have these like little glass coffee mugs that I absolutely love. I probably talked about them before. It's how much I love them. But when I make my coffee in the morning, I am full of joy. And I don't care about coffee that much, to be quite honest, but it's the look of them. They're like visually pleasing to me. I like the layering that you see in the cup. And I love the little old lady, granny, old fashioned glasses. They're just, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. They just do something for me, right? So we talk about cultivating joy. It's about finding those little moments like that. It's like a kid finding a dandelion and being excited about it, and the big stuff that you really look forward to. But it's intentional. And so I work with my clients to say, let's get you loving your life again and feeling alive. And so we make those intentional rituals for that. So your final takeaway, I want you to choose your focus ritual. So just like results and relationships, you don't need to overhaul everything at once. We always choose our essential list. So choose one area. So which of these, for your evolve work for the week, which of these 3 energy rituals need your attention first? Physical energy. Are you fueling your body like the asset it is? Emotional energy. Do you have tools to reset and refocus when things get hard? Or cultivating joy. Are you remembering to live, not just to work? What's one small shift that you can make this week in that area? Even becoming aware of what's missing is powerful. Awareness is the first step to change, because the most successful people, the 5%ers, they're not the busiest. They've simply built a life that supports the level that they want to lead at. All right. If you want help building your rituals that actually work, then I want you to join my 5% Club waitlist. My one-on-one is currently full, but I'm getting ready to open up some group program opportunities that you'll have. And you'll be the first to know when my one-on-one slots do open, and they usually go within 24 hours. So get on the list so that you know right away when one of those opens, and so that you can hear about the upcoming group programs. You can find the link in the show notes or go to shaylaking.com. And inside, you'll get access to the same frameworks my private clients use, so you can stop surviving and start building a life you actually love. Shayla King, SHAYLAKING.com to join the waitlist. Let's transform your results, your relationships, and rituals from the inside out. Let's go. Thanks for joining me in the 5% Club today. If you're ready to work less, make more, and design a life you love, go to shaylaking.com to join the 5% Club waitlist. Each Monday, I'll send you something you can implement immediately, and you'll be the first to know when applications open for the Performance and Happiness Lab, my group training program designed to accelerate you into a happy, confident executive who loves their whole life. See you there.